Creative Magic Club. What's up? This is Sarah Mack and welcome to Creative Magic Club. Together, we'll discover inspirational stories of creative entrepreneurs living out their dreams, doing the work they are most passionate about, and building wealth in magical and fun ways. While building a six-figure income as a writer and coach, helping other women to launch their dream businesses, I've connected with so many incredible people and seen it proven again and again that you can thrive financially doing whatever it is you are passionate about. I'm here to share life-changing strategies for mindset, making money, and reaching more people with your work in a business and life filled with creativity, freedom, and fun. Hi everyone, welcome. I'm so excited to introduce my guest today. We have the wonderful Arlene Broussard, who's a wealth coach who helps healers and heart-centered entrepreneurs to grow their wealth with ease and double their net worth. Arlene is an amazing friend, colleague, and also a client of mine. She just came through Tell Stories That Sell, and her work is super exciting. So I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. Thank you so much for joining us, Arlene.
You're welcome. I'm happy to be here.
So let's kick this off with you sharing a little bit about your story. Like, how did you get to being a wealth coach and doing the work that you're doing today?
Well, like many others, I did what I was supposed to do. I got married. I went to college. I got married. And then my marriage didn't work out. And I found myself me and my husband were sitting with our divorce attorney, and she asked us to go figure out our numbers so that we could split our wealth. And we didn't know how to do what she asked us to do. So she explained how to do it. We went and did it. We came back. We split our wealth. We didn't have a lot of wealth. So there wasn't a lot of fighting that went on. But what I found happened to me afterward, once the divorce was over, was this realization of, oh my God, I'm by myself. I'm 35. I haven't prepared, for my financial future. Both me and my husband had good jobs, and yet somehow we didn't understand money or how to prepare. And I felt scared. I felt super afraid that what if I never get married again? Who's going to take care of me when I get older? I don't have children. How do you figure this stuff out? And why me? I have a college degree. Why haven't I figured this out? And I was ashamed. I was so ashamed that I didn't call. I didn't want to call anyone and admit that I didn't learn how to do this. Like there was something wrong with me for not having figured this out. So I went and researched on the internet, and this was a while ago. So there weren't easy tools to figure out how to know how to manage my money, how to figure out, what wealth is. So I struggled, and I searched through, and I figured out how to do this. I figured out what will I need, what kind of nest egg will I need, and what will it take for me to get there. And I put this system in place, and I started working my system. And I set a goal to have $300,000 by the time I was 45. And if I had done that I would have, then I'd be set, and I wouldn't have to put any more money away. And that money would just grow, invested in the stock market, and I could feel secure. And so I set that in place. I went down the path, and lo and behold, I got the $300,000. And I did it before I was 45. And I was like, oh my gosh, that worked. And so I just continued on. And as I continued on, then I found myself in a place where I was able to leave my work and live off of my assets and enjoy my life even more than I was enjoying it. So now I live off of my assets, and I work supporting women to grow wealth with ease, to double their net worth. And that's how I found myself here, through the tragedy of my divorce, through the realizing that, no one taught me how to do this. And people, I think I come across so many women who feel the same way. that like I'm not prepared and somehow I messed up, right? It's like feeling like, why didn't I learn this? I'm educated, or, I'm smart. And why don't I know how to do this? And it's a common story amongst women. And it was definitely mine.
Yeah, I love that you're we're having this conversation and that you're sharing your story around this, because it's so common, right? Like, I can speak for myself. Like, I'm one of those people who was in total avoidance around the money conversation up until a few years ago. And just because I felt so overwhelmed, I felt so like unequipped to be able to be having that conversation. Like, I'd made so many mistakes. And it's so disempowering to be in that position. And I can attest to that. And, it happens because no one talks about it, right? Because money still has that like taboo like label on it, like for so many people. Like, it's not respectable to talk about how much we earn or to ask people how much things cost, and all of these types of things. And I think, no wonder so many people are struggling with money if we're not even giving ourselves permission to talk about it. So it's so powerful. And I love that you share your story, that you went from like zero to, like massive success in terms of being able to apply these strategies successfully and build wealth for yourself and actually create financial freedom. That it's not just for people who were like born into wealth or who have, sold their company for billions of dollars or whatever, and that it's something that really is accessible when we know which tools to apply and we actually commit to working with them. So I know that, there are so many people out there who are having that same experience. And I think it's really important to like remove shame from feeling like we are unequipped, or we've done a bad job, or we've made some mistakes with our financial planning and organization. And, I can share for myself, like I'm still definitely on the journey. But as soon as I started paying attention and just, bringing that uncomfortable awareness to where it wasn't where I wanted it to be, and started to take different action, like immediately I started to see different results, and, the amount of money that I was earning, and just the amount of the reduction in anxiety that I had around the money conversation. So I would love for you to tell us a little bit about what are some of the common patterns you see in conversations with your clients when they come to work with you, in terms of like what people really struggle with, or preconceptions they have about what's possible or not possible for them.
Yeah, sure. And thanks for sharing, your experience. So many of the people that I talk to they feel like, I'm a creative person. I don't get numbers. I was never good at math. Like, I can't do this. I'm not good at math. Fear comes up, like, you're just not good with money. Like, so there's stories that our culture has given us. Some say, men are supposed to do that. This is a hidden, I had this, right? I had a husband. So I thought, well, the man's supposed to do it. And it wasn't conscious, right? Women are trained in our culture to believe that the man goes out and hunts the tiger and brings home the food, right? So we translate that to the man goes out and works and brings home money, even though we are working ourselves. So we have this unconscious belief that dictates our behavior. Even though if you had a conversation, I'm having this conversation with you, you would never say, I'm expecting my husband to provide the money. But subconsciously, our behavior in culture is that way. This was a great awakening that I had. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I was raised by my mom without my dad. Like, I should not have had that belief, but I had it. And I was like, God, why were you relying on him? Like, why were you not doing this? So I definitely find that women, we are the culture in countries all over the world do this. We assume that we don't have to look at our financial statement or look at what we're spending or look at what we're saving or investing. We don't need to look at that. Like, we're not supposed to. That's his job. It's such a common belief that we have culturally.
Right. It's those unconscious things that are ticking over that show up in like the fact that nobody talks about it, in like your friendship group, and the fact that you don't think about it, or when you think about it, you just, you don't know what to do with it. So you just like move past because it's super uncomfortable. I would love for you to talk a little bit about because overcomplicating things is a topic that comes up a lot in my coaching work. You know, I've definitely overcomplicated things in the past, and money is one thing that feels, you know, has felt extremely complicated to me, and, you know, still does to an extent. I've definitely created a lot of shifts in my capacity to earn more. But in doing that, I realized, you know, there's so many different parts of our relationship with money. Like you say, there's like the saving and the organizing and the investing that are all different to just the earning of it. And, you know, I'm doing a lot to educate myself around that. And it still brings up a lot of feelings of overwhelm for me, and that it feels complicated. And I'm sure that that's a experience that many people can relate to. So I would love for you, because I know that the way that, because you're so masterful in what you do, and you've created this very simple strategy that, you know, has worked. So I'd love for you to kind of talk a little bit on how to bridge the gap from this feeling really complicated to actually this being quite simple and straightforward in our relationship with money.
Yeah, that is the whole point, because the financial industry was set up so that you're reliant on them as an advisor to manage your money for you. So education wasn't provided in a clear, simple way. So you're not alone in it, you know, feeling complex. So I approached it, and this is what I had to create for myself, and which now is my program. I call it OM, which stands for OHM. O is for outlook, H is for habit, and M is for measurement. It's 3 principles, 3 steps, and because it's simple and straightforward, you're able to implement and get results, and always come back to this one measurement that you've created as a habit. And it helps to change your relationship with money. Outlook is, what is my outlook about money? Do I believe that I'm good with money, or do I believe that it's this scary thing? And so through a simple strategy, a 3-step strategy, that is how I'm able to help people bridge that gap, right? To make it straightforward, to make it the simple thing. Always come back to the one measurement, which is your net worth. Mm-hmm. Come back to that one measurement, because that is what wealth is. Wealth is the measure. I mean, net worth is the measure of wealth. And it's in measuring it the right way so that it does help fuel your income growth and fuel your assets. That one thing is what helps everything else be free and flowing and keeping money moving in and out of your life, and enough of it so that you can create assets. So one day you don't have to work. When you're 80 years old, you don't have to work. When you're 70 years old, I mean, many are doing it by the time they're 35 or 40. Yeah, it's having a simple strategy and understanding how to apply it.
Right, because once you're focused on the right thing, then you get the inspired ideas and the insights, or at least you're looking in the right direction for when you're seeking answers.
Yes.
You're always moving towards that thing.
That's the fun part. So this is why, my business is called Heartful Wealth. And the platform is around, I use the breath to help us to calm down, right? To relax our nervous system so that we're open to all the ideas, all of the infinite possibilities that are out there that are available for everyone. But we get so anxious and so nervous that we block them off. We contract ourselves. And through this, through a simple approach, having a simple strategy, understanding what wealth is, oh my gosh, so many ideas come. I mean, people's eyes they're like, oh my gosh, my net worth went up from, I had one client tell me from 40,000 to 70,000 in 8 months, like really rapid growth in her net worth because she applied this strategy, this simple strategy. And it just started flowing for her. She's like, oh my gosh, you have to share this more because the simple laws of the universe apply. When we stop being contracted and avoiding, it really is, money really is infinite and fluid and abundant. It really is.
I love that you incorporate breath work. That's genius. Because my next question is like, what do you do with the people who are like when we calculate our net worth, oh my God, I'm so in debt. And like the overwhelm that comes from, you know, facing up to that truth, maybe for the first time.
Yeah, we use tools to shift that, right? To release, because what this is subconscious limiting beliefs, archives in the back of our skull that we've stored of, oh my God, there's a tiger running after me, I'm going to die. I mean, they're beliefs that they're not real, but they are embedded in our emotions. So we use tools to release ourselves of those beliefs so that we can move forward. And as we're using these tools, we are creating the habit, and we're replacing it with this symbiotic. What happens is you start to reinforce it. Wow, the more I look at it, the more it goes down. The more my debt goes down, the more ideas I get for creating assets that are actually generating income for me as I'm able to pay down the debt. And the more I start to look toward assets and look toward income generating activities, the more the debt gets paid down. So what people used to do is they would just ignore it and not pay attention, and they're on the wrong side of the loan, is what we call it. You keep growing your debt because you can't afford to get out of all the payments, because you're paying all the interest to the bank or to whomever you took that loan out. So you can't get ahead. So the Om practice helps to relieve that, to bring awareness, I call it financial awareness, to your situation. And it eases the anxiety, and you're able to move forward. It has meaning. As one client said, that the way I laid the numbers out with her enabled her to see the meaning behind what she was doing. It gave meaning to her money that she didn't have before.
I love that. And yeah, I definitely found that for myself when I first really, you know, sat myself down and was like, I'm going to at least look at my numbers and like plug the numbers in, you know, get in the spreadsheet. And, you know, this is really where the money mindset work comes in, because it's in the showing up for that habit. Like you identify that new habit and you know, it's just looking at it, right, is the beginning. And that's where all the resistance starts to come up. That's where all of that old conditioning and, you know, those old stories and programming starts to kick in, and it's like, and, you know, it's like being in that zone of discomfort and being like, I feel so uncomfortable right now. I just want to run, but I'm here and I'm going to show up and I'm going to keep breathing and I'm just going to keep looking at my numbers and I'm going to keep showing up and I'm going to keep being in this discomfort zone. And then when I finally, you know, got like a complete picture, and I got that for my business, and it's really powerful feedback when you can detach from it, you know, emotionally. A lot of the time it's like, oh, I did way better than I thought, or like, isn't it cool how, you know, I did this and like this is how it's showing up in my numbers, and like you just get so much powerful data that gives you a more complete picture of of like how your actions are like literally impacting the wealth that you're creating and how much you're keeping and how much you're spending and your daily decision making. It's really just a reflection of your daily decision making. So without really having the relationship with that data, you're just like shooting into the dark, really, and you don't have as much tangible evidence of how it's paying off for you and if it's benefiting you or if you could be making a better decision.
That's exactly right. It you know, when I think back to when I first got divorced and how I was going through feelings like, you know what, if I just disappeared, no one would even care, right? Because I'm divorced, right? This is very sad, but that is really what happened. Like my divorce was the hardest thing I've ever been through, and I wanted the divorce, but it felt so discombobulating, and I felt so my meaning, you know, I just was like it just shattered. Like I did it wrong. I don't have children. It doesn't matter if I'm here. So I'm in this really desperate place. And once I figured it out, and it took me a little while to figure it out, but once I started, you know, tracking and looking at my numbers, it became my fuel. It became, you know, this self-fulfilling prophecy of like, oh my goodness, like I felt freedom. Whenever I opened my numbers, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got this. I'd have a bad day at work. I'd come home, look at I'm like, I have a plan, I have a system. So regardless of what happens, like I'm not tied to my job. I'm not, I don't have to do anything because the universe is abundant and I've got this system that shows me how to get there. Like it fuels my, my life because I'm in control. I'm leading my numbers. I'm leading my wealth creation. And once I started doing that, my whole life changed. My opportunities opened up, my income increased, my joy increased, my relationships flourished. I mean, it just took the stress away. It took the stress away because I was looking at my numbers, and now numbers are fun. And that's the beauty of it, is now talking about money is like one of my favorite things to do. It's one of my favorite things to do.
I love it. I know, same here. And it just goes to show, right? When, like all of the way that you were judging yourself in that moment, same with me. When I was going through that situation, like we judge ourselves so harshly and we make it mean all of these things about us personally, when now we have a bit of perspective and it's like, none of that was true. Like that was all lies, right? But we were so hard on ourselves, and we're the ones that are making it so difficult by putting all of these judgments and pressure and making it mean so much, rather than just being like, okay, how can I think that the biggest thing for me was just like getting to a place of neutrality, and sometimes when something feels really difficult and everyone's like, just feel so grateful that you can pay your phone bill, and you're like feeling really disempowered around your situation, and like you're trying but you're like, it's only working a little bit. And if for me, and what I share with my clients when we're working on money mindset, is like, just try and get to a place of neutrality, like breathe through, what all of the reasons and the stories and the emotional triggers that are making it feel really hard, and be like, cool, like I'm observing how I'm reacting, and like this isn't going to be, the most fun thing right now, but like I can still just do it. I can just get to a place of neutrality and not expending so much energy on creating stress around this thing. And slowly it just starts to dissipate. And it becomes a little bit easier and a little bit easier, like you say. And then the good things that start to show up, you have to be in that little window of faith, and that like, I know this is really uncomfortable, but I have to believe that this is going to make a difference. And, there's a little lag time, and then suddenly more money starts to show up, more, better ideas and better decision making starts to become more of a habit. And then you see those very real and tangible results. And it's just crazy to think that our wealth really is in our control. Like it really is. It doesn't matter like where you came from. It doesn't matter like, what family, what culture. It really is a system of beliefs that we get to just refocus on. And isn't it insane to you doing this work that it's such a big issue in the world for everybody, and it's so within our control?
It is. It's it is such a taboo topic. It's such a taboo topic. Like people get so, so I have a weekly private Facebook community where I do a 9-minute wealth meditation, and getting people to engage or talk in the comments about their financial situation. Like people don't do it. They're engaged and they like being there and it's beneficial. But to actually speak about money in a comment on an internet, on the internet, like people don't do it. It's just not, people don't share. Now in my courses, we're very open, right? One-on-one people are very open because you're in a trusting, sacred place. But it is a topic that people are so afraid to talk about. I'm going to say ashamed, or like it's disrespectful. You're not supposed to talk about money, and that's such garbage. It's not valid. It's like why not? It's just money. It's just zeros and ones, just pieces of paper. Like it's like we've put such a charge on it that's not real. It's not a real thing. We feel it. Don't get me wrong. The feelings we have are real. But once you do the work, like you said, slowly, because it does take time. I didn't turn that immediately. I went into on my path out of straight up fear. I was scared to death that I was going to die or be in my older age having to eat cat food. Like I had this image. This was the story that I had heard, that women
Wow.
Women live longer than men and end up being more poor than men are when they're older. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to end up being one of these women. That was my fear. That was the image that I had. Like, like who knows if, and look, and I'm not remarried. I still don't have children. So, so I'm so grateful that I had that trauma, not grateful I have the trauma, but grateful that it drove me to learn and to figure it out. Yeah.
And especially because we're living so much longer now too. And that is a real thing, that women live longer than men. And we need to be having this conversation.
Yes.
And I mean, it's tragic to think about it, but I'm sure many women have experienced that.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And so often, traditional in my mom's generation, the husband dies and the mom didn't know anything about the finances. So she ends up losing it, or, the husband hasn't prepared. I mean, there's so many reasons why doing this now, right? And here's the other thing that I tell my clients. Your relationship with money is no different from your relationship with your partner, with your sister, with your friends. It requires love. It requires attention. It wants your love. It just wants to be held. Money just wants you to spend time with it. Like, why don't we spend more time with our money? We do with every other relationship that we care about. So when we view it this way and we start giving it love and start giving it time and attention, it returns back to us tenfold, hundredfold, because it's so happy to have our love.
Yes, love your money, people.
Money. Yeah, let's love our money. Love money. I love money. I love money. I don't have to work. Yeah.
But it's revolutionary to say it, right? Because it is such a taboo and there's so much judgment around talking about it. But the fact is, if you want your personal circumstances to change and you want better for everyone else in your community, like, you have to be that person that steps out and is like, I'm going to talk about my money and I'm not going to, I'm going to refuse to be judged for it. Like, cool if you want to secretly judge me, but like, I'm going to love my money and I'm not going to like hide it. I don't want us to be poor. I don't want us to be poor in this world anymore.
Right. Why is being poor, it's like, what, I just don't, I mean, it's just so illogical to not, when I say it's illogical, it's, some will blame it on religion, blame it on society, blame it on our cultures, but that's because we're putting that emphasis there. I love my mother. After I went through my divorce and was figuring my life out, and she said to me, she's like, Arlene, God doesn't want you to be poor. God didn't say, oh, you're a better person if you're poor. Like, that's a man who's giving that, thought to around money. Like, that's not God. God didn't create you. I wasn't, the divine didn't create all this magnificence so that we'd be poor. Like, that's not even logical. But I love that my mother told me that. I love that she said that to me when I was in my struggle and my, in my darkness. It helped free me to pursue wealth, understanding it, growing it, creating it, and teaching it now.
I love that. And there's another quote that really sticks out to me that I read in Amanda Francis's book. You can't get poor enough to help another poor person get rich.
Yes.
You know? Yes. Like, you need money. Like, we do. We like, as much as we maybe hate capitalism and like don't want to participate in, corrupt like systems and structures, you can do way more good with money. And if it doesn't get to be that challenging and all it means is getting over a little bit of our discomfort and changing our habits, like brushing our teeth a little bit, like more consistently when it comes to our money, it's worth it for the benefits that come from that. And particularly for women and particularly for creatives too, right? Because money means you don't have to wait for permission. Money means you get to create things for yourself and you get to create things a lot faster. You get to help a lot more people. You get to collaborate with a lot more people and you get to create a lot more opportunity. And that's all good in my book.
Yeah, you're all the things you just described is you're living more authentically. You're living the life that you came here to live. You don't have this nagging stress in the back of your head of how am I going to pay that bill or how am I going to eat next month? Like that, the freedom in that, it's incredible. It is incredible to not have to worry about that. And that worry is the worry of 95% of the population. And it doesn't need to be that way, because it really isn't about, you have to make a whole bunch of money. It's more about understanding money and what it's doing. So we have these ideas that are, that just need to be debunked. They're just wrong.
And I love what you said about how we have the tendency to blame our culture.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been coming up a lot in conversation with my clients recently. And we've been talking a lot about, like, where are we giving our power away, right? Like, where are we?
Yeah.
And that's one of those conversations where it's like, oh, but my culture and where I come from, it's like really taboo. Or, I've inherited these particular, like, very limiting beliefs around money, or that, there's a lot of like complex clashing between like Western and like capitalism and like other cultures. And, it's like, that's really, we're giving our power away to those stories when we could just decide to wipe the slate clean and be like, yeah, but different now, we have the internet. We have access to all of the answers, and so much wisdom and inspiration to really start thinking differently and really take our power back to write a different story. And that's available every single day to every single person.
Yes. God, thank you for that. The whole, if I'm like this other culture, then like I have to not be like this other culture. You said the word capitalism, and what we say here, I'm an American, that the way our Constitution was written regarding capitalism wasn't, the way we're doing it with the corruption and war, those aspects of it, those are the aspects that are not bad, but that is not what our Constitution says, right? Like capitalism, being able to pursue freedom and happiness, and which includes you having your own money, those are all good virtues. The other aspects that have come from people being corrupt and, not having, in my opinion, a strong spiritual foundation, right? Not being in touch with, the divine in them. Mm. That's where it goes off. But I don't think there's a problem with capitalism. I think there's a problem with what's happening with how we're doing it.
Right.
But we're not actually doing it the way that it's pure capitalism. So I think that, like you said, because of the internet, we have access to better information. So study, so learn, use the great evolution, the great awakening that we're in to, dispel those beliefs that we've grown up with culturally. Because you can still be a really spiritual person and also have a lot of money. Matter of fact, your spirituality will bring money to you. You're knowing that we're in this, this unified, life-giving place, because that's what life is. We're all here to flourish and to enjoy it. Like, why else are we here?
Yeah, I love that distinction too, because I think, capitalism is like a label that people use negatively around money simply because of, like the ways that it has been practiced in a negative way by many people who are in that conversation. And I also like completely acknowledge my white privilege and don't mean to be insensitive to other cultures who genuinely do have, more complex baggage in the conversations around money and worth and deservingness and possibility and opportunity. But I think it's really important to remind ourselves that it is the story that we're telling, and everybody has the opportunity to tell themselves a different story today and tomorrow and the next day. And to, that the sooner we double down on a more empowering story, the faster we take our power back from those, negative narratives that don't support us to create more wealth. The sooner we just abandon them, the faster we rewrite the scripts for our cultures, for our communities. And, everybody has really individual complex relationships with money, depending on their family story, depending on their cultures and their background. And everybody has a shit ton of money baggage, to let go of.
Yes.
And so, I really love what you teach, and that it gets to be simple, and that it's so rooted in habit change and refocusing on actually what matters, which is how am I cultivating wealth for myself today, and acknowledging that when I do that, you know, it's better for me and it's actually better for everybody, even if it involves creating friction within my social group, even if it involves me really triggering people when I'm choosing to step out and, you know, talk about money and love my money and be public about that. And, you know, giving ourselves permission to be the cycle breakers for the benefit of our cultures and communities, because by continuing to participate in them, we're not benefiting anybody, right?
Oh my goodness, I have goosebumps. You are so just speaking the truth about, be a rule breaker, you know, be willing. I mean, I'm there obviously. But if I go back to when I was afraid, when I first started, you know, going on the internet and talking about money, I was afraid. I was afraid to be seen that way. I was worried about, you know, people in my community, and, you know, I was worried about what my mom would say, you know, all the things that, you breaking out of the rules of our culture, breaking up. And I'm so glad that I have, because so many people are saying, oh my goodness, thank you so much. Like, we are so hungry for this freedom. We're so hungry to not feel shackled by these ideas that keep us small, that keep us all in poverty. We keep other people in poverty when we don't take care of our own money, right? When I'm not taking care, I had a cousin tell me, she worked in social services. She was a social worker, then she was a professor of social work. And I asked her when I was, going to school, I said, I wonder if I should get a job, doing social work or something like that. And she said, oh, no. She said, stay on the path that you are. She said, we need more people in our community with wealth so that you can not be someone who needs welfare, so that you're someone who can go and help bring others up. We don't need another person, because you're not going to make very much money as a social worker. And we need more people who have wealth and who can go help others. She said, we don't need another person on the welfare payroll. So no, you stay on the path you're on. Do not look to my path as the one that you need to be on.
Wow. That's so powerful.
It was so powerful. I'm so grateful to her for that, because I was young and I had ideas of, doing the right thing and being a good person who, gives the shirt off my back for, to another person. But that just means there's more naked people, right? There's more people who need to be clothed. It's like, no, clothe yourself first. Put your mask on first. Take care of yourself so that you're not, looking for someone else to provide it for you.
Oh, yes. And I think we wait for permission too much, It's like, consider this your permission to be wealthy. Like, consider this your permission.
Yes. I love that.
And it starts with telling the truth, right?
Yes.
Being honest about how unsatisfied we are when we don't have the resources to fully express ourselves and to make the impact that we really desire to make. And we have to wait and we have to worry. And that's really disempowering. Like, the most empowering thing in my mind that we can do is to take responsibility for creating that wealth for ourselves and creating that wealth for the impact that we desire to see. So thank you so much for being a walking, talking, incredible example of an amazing woman of heartful wealth, and owning it and letting it be simple and sharing this incredible message with everybody, Arlene.
Oh, you're welcome. It is so my pleasure. Thank you for providing this platform for me and for assisting me and, helping me to get my message out better. I mean, you've assisted me to better connect with women who are ready for, to grow their wealth with ease. You've helped me greatly with that, because while I have the passion and the system, getting it out so people can understand what, why they might be able to work with me, why I might be able to assist them. You've helped me tremendously with that.
Oh, it is my honor and my pleasure. And I'm so grateful for you. So for anybody who's interested in growing their net worth and finding out more about you and your work, where can they find you?
They can find me on my website. It's heartfulwealth.com. which is the word heart and FUL at the end, like the word grateful, heartful, and wealth.com. And they can go there, and there is a free gift on how to avoid the mistakes even smart women make. If you download that free ebook, I will have your information and notify you the next time I'm teaching Grow Wealth with Ease, which I expect to be doing in like a month.
Amazing. Definitely go check out Arlene's work. Thank you so much for coming and chatting with us today, Arlene.
You're welcome. My pleasure. My pleasure, Sarah. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. For more inspirational content, head over to my website withsarahmac.com and please support the show by liking, commenting, and subscribing.